What's going on, guys? Marco here with Dynasty Nerds, and I am bringing you my start-sit running backs for Week 5. All right, guys, so before we jump into it, I want to remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you want to join the nerd herd, get access to the GM tool, everything in between, use promo code 14P at checkout or use the link in the description below and you'll get 15% off. 15% off, and it's an amazing tool. We have so many awesome resources for you, even beyond, the written content, the video content that you are used to from Dynasty Nerds. So make sure to check it out. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Marco_14P. My DMs are open. I'm happy to answer any and all Dynasty redraft, any fantasy football questions you guys may have. All right, let's jump into it. I'm going to start with my starts this week. All right, so when we look at some of the matchups, there's one matchup that I think is kind of interesting for fantasy football purposes, and it's the New England Patriots versus the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are number one at two things: points allowed and points scored. And they get the New England Patriots, which is an offense that's mostly anemic and not exciting. But against this Detroit Lions defense, I'm excited to start both Rhamondre Stevenson and Damien Harris for these reasons. The reality is, Rhamondre Stevenson, if you had to pick one, he's the guy I'm going with. He's involved on the ground. He's involved through the air. He's outsnapped Damien Harris 3 weeks in a row now. He is the Patriots running back. He's the primary ball carrier and pass catcher out of the backfield for this team. In this game where they're going against a defense that just gives up points, I think Rhamondre Stevenson probably can get 60-plus yards on the ground, probably gets into the end zone, maybe through the air, because on the ground, you know who's still scoring touchdowns? Damien Harris. And that's why I like him as a potential flex play or a bye-week fill-in against the Detroit Lions, because there's a chance that he is going to get into the end zone. Even being outsnapped, he still found the end zone last week. I think that continues this week against the Detroit Lions defense. The next group I'm talking about starting is another duo, and it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. James Robinson and Travis Etienne both had down weeks last week. But something happened that I called last week, and it was a little bit foiled and ruined by Trevor Lawrence's just turnover city that he had last week against the Eagles. But Travis Etienne actually outsnapped James Robinson for the first time ever this year. Sure, game script was a part of that, but I think both these guys are going to continue to get more and more involved. Last week, again, was a down week. I think James Robinson's got a good chance to get in the end zone, and I think Travis Etienne will actually get the ball quite a bit in this one. I don't know if he'll outsnap James Robinson, but I think that 50-50 timeshare could be something we see a lot in a game that's very winnable for the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Houston Texans. I think both are flex plays, RB2, for James Robinson, because I think he probably gets the bulk of the carries here. But I think both are options, and if you've got Travis Etienne, do not give up on him yet. He is a guy who I am holding on to. He's got all the explosiveness. He's shown flashes. Obviously, last week was a down week. He didn't get any targets, but he's going to get his. Him and James Robinson both have value in this offense. All right, a bonus start for you, and that is A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon is seeing tons and tons of work. He's actually been on the field and run more routes than Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones just has seemed to be getting a little bit more work, and because of that, overall, I should say, and so because of that, he's kind of the guy who has the edge here. But against a New York Giants defense that is letting up over 100 yards on the ground, I think A.J. Dillon finally finds the end zone in this one. He's due for some positive touchdown regression when it comes to the amount of red zone opportunities he's getting and the amount of touchdowns he's scoring. I think he finds the end zone in this one. I like him as an RB2 play in Week 5. All right, now we got to talk about sits. So if you're starting these guys, you're sitting some other people. Let's just say it. Let's get it out there. We don't need to talk about it long. I am sitting the Dolphins running backs. Chase Edmonds was a guy I was never in on, and I told you guys in the offseason, he's probably not going to be the guy. Turns out he's not the guy. Raheem Mostert is actually the guy who's probably going to lead, as long as he's healthy, lead this team in the running back room in touches. But even so, they're going to continue to cannibalize each other. I think Tyreek Hill, I think Jalen Waddle. Everyone's getting involved in this backfield right now, and I am not touching a Dolphins running back, not just in Week 5, but for the foreseeable future. Unless somebody goes down and one of these guys kind of gets the bulk of the work, there's absolutely no reason to rely on these guys. if you're in a really tight spot or you need a bye week or an injury fill-in, I would prefer Raheem Mostert over Chase Edmonds in this one. But if you can, put both of them on your bench. Chase Edmonds is borderline droppable at this point. All right, the next group I got to talk about is a group that underperformed last week. And you notice the theme of this start-sit video is backfields. And I am talking about the Dallas Cowboys backfield. Their offensive line is a ghost, a shell, a zombie of its former self. It is barely stringing together a competent performance week in and week out. We don't know if Dak's going to be back, but ultimately they're going against the Los Angeles Rams, and the reality is the Rams have Aaron Donald. They have a good enough defense to stuff the run against two running backs in Ezekiel, Elliot, and Tony Pollard that have underperformed. They've been unspectacular, and I think in week 5 that continues. While I do think Zeke still has solid value going forward, and Tony Pollard is, of course, one of the most valuable handcuffs, I don't know if we're going to see RB1 or, even consistent RB2 production from these guys this season. And definitely in week 5, I am fading these guys if possible. Odds are you probably can't sit Zeke, but he is a major fade for me. And Tony Pollard, any other options? I am not starting Tony Pollard this week, especially after last week's performance. He's just not getting enough work. He's not getting all of the work we were hoping for, all the work that they were talking about. So Tony Pollard is a major sit for me in week 5. All right, don't forget, if you've got questions or you've got specific start sits that you want to hear about, drop questions below or hit me up on Twitter at Marco_14P. Get 15% off joining the Nerd Herd in the GM tool below. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to be kind, do good, and I'll see you next time. Peace.